All right, everybody. There's war in the East and war in the West. In the great words of Prophet Bob Marley, war in the East, there's war in the West. Yeah, war everywhere, right? So let me give you some more context. So Israel strike Iran. They attacked Iran and Iran retaliated earlier on today. We knew this was going to happen. I've been following this story of how Israel's president has been trying to get our government and Donald Trump to back them and go into war with Iran. And Donald Trump is like, no, let's have a conversation. But today, Netanyahu strike Iran and they retaliated. And in Israel, they told them, hey, stay in the shelters, stay in the bunkers, don't come out. And with that going on, and with the LA riots going on, it is just a lot of turmoil is going on across the world. And what's going on here in America, there's just been a lot of turmoil going on. So let's jump into the video of what's going on between Iran and Israel. Let's get into it.
You watch that. If anyone was killed, if there were numerous people killed in any attack and in any attack in the coming days, that will really change the calculus here. Last October, Iran launched about 180 missiles and drones. There were very minimal damage. Almost all of them were stopped. We have to assume that Netanyahu was ready for this, that they had the Iron Dome in place, of course, but other defenses as well. We also know that the U.S. will help defend Israel. No matter what, they will help defend Israel. They've moved some ships around. They were not, according to Marco Rubio, involved in the military attack on Iran last night, but the U.S. will defend Israel. And watching this right now and knowing this could go on for days and days, and that Israel will likely strike back to Iran as well. Diane.
And we're hearing dozens of Iranian missiles are on their way to Israel. People there obviously instructed to remain in bomb shelters, as our Marcus Moore is right now. And I want to bring in former State Department official and ABC News contributor Colonel Steve Ganyard for more on this. Steve, you heard Martha there saying that Israel no doubt will retaliate here. But where does this leave the U.S. in terms of involvement?
Well, I think is that to me,
it looks like we're having some issues
in
with
the civilian
Steve's.
centers.
Looks like we're having some issues with Colonel Ganyard's audio. So, Martha, can you expand on that more? Just where this leaves the U.S., particularly after the president said that the U.S. would defend Israel?
I think that the U.S. is getting ready to defend Israel in any way they can through anti-missile systems on ships and whatever else they can do to try to stop those incoming missiles into Israel and basically back up the Israelis in this sort of effort. And they are going to be at that for the next several days, if not the next several weeks, depending on how Iran reacts. Now, you've heard President Trump say, let's negotiate. This should end it right here. Let's try to do something and end all this. But we've heard nothing but from Iran except for these missile strikes. So that is their answer to President Trump.
Martha, Israel says it launched these strikes overnight, preemptively targeting Iranian nuclear sites. That was their big focus. Where does this leave the U.S.-Iran nuclear talks now?
Well, I think nowhere right now. I mean, they were scheduled for this weekend, and they were supposedly going to go ahead. But again, this is the answer as of today that Iran has given the U.S. and Israel about any sort of nuclear negotiations. They certainly thought that would pressure Iran, and it will eventually pressure Iran in some way, either more strikes on Israel or they come to the table, Diane.
And I want to go back to Marcus Moore again there in a bomb shelter in Tel Aviv. Marcus, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, hi Diane. We're still here in the shelter, and it seems to have calmed down from what I can hear outside. Not hearing as much activity with the air defense system. We presume what we heard working and hearing the explosions. But there was a moment where we could hear people in the other shelters, perhaps on the lower floor here, where they're with their children. These are families who are here in this hotel and who are enduring this moment of uncertainty, and certainly one of potential traumatic, especially for the kids. And we could possibly hear, we thought maybe the children crying in the midst of all of this. And so we're waiting to get the all clear. We heard the radio announcement on the loudspeaker like we've heard before, telling people to get to a shelter, and we'll be here until we get the all clear and when it's apparently deemed safe to be able to leave this shelter here, Diane.
And Martha, we had already been told that there were plans underway to potentially try to get American employees out who are working for the government in the Middle East. Any more on that? Could U.S. personnel be in danger here?
Well, there's a warning going out to all Americans across the Mideast region. There is no evacuation plan for regular American citizens in place. Military families and dependents are told they could have left. This is just in the last couple of days. Non-essential personnel is cleared out of Iraq, for instance. We have 40,000 troops in that region. That is what the U.S. is very worried about as well. Does Iran try to attack our troops, our assets, our facilities in the Mideast region? Because even though the U.S. was not involved in the military attack, Iran is certainly going to hold them accountable, hold the U.S. accountable. In 2020, when the U.S. took out Soleimani with a drone strike in Iraq, I was in Iran just days later. There were hundreds of thousands of people on the streets protesting the U.S. and Iran, of course, hit a airbase in Iraq, a U.S. airbase in Iraq, and a lot of traumatic brain injury during that strike. Most of it mild, we are told, and yet they did retaliate against the U.S. That was, again, a direct U.S. hit on Soleimani, the head of their Iranian Revolutionary Guard, but they did take action against the U.S., and that is a fear here as well, Diane.
All right, Martha Raddatz, Marcus Moore, Steve Ganyard, thank you again. We're looking at just moments ago what the IDF is saying are dozens of Iranian ballistic missiles over Tel Aviv. It looks like many of them were intercepted, but others made contact. We, of course, will stay on this story, and our coverage continues on ABC News Live and abcnews.com. We'll return to your regular scheduled programming now, but David Muir and the entire team will have the latest on world news tonight. I am Diane Macedo in New York. Have a great rest of the day.
This has been a special.
All right, so I'm going to take it over to what's going on in L.A. Let's see if any issues are going on in L.A. I know it's kind of quieted down, so let me jump on over. I have this queued up, right? So this is a conference, not a conference, but a press sort of where they're talking about what's going on. So leaders in California. So right here it says leaders call out threats on the Latino community in California. So let's play this video and then we can go back over to see another outlet and what they have to say about what's going on between Israel and Iran. All right, so let me jump and put this one in, and let me bring it into full mass. All right, so let me bring it up, expand this, and play the video.
All right, ready? Good afternoon, everyone. One more time. Good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Thank you, everyone, to our elected officials, to our business leaders, our civic and faith leaders, to our partners in the nonprofit sector, community-based organizations. Thank you for standing with us here today. My name is Vanessa Aramayo. I am the CEO and president of Alliance for a Better Community. We are a Latino advocacy organization serving the Los Angeles region. And we're gathered today under this difficult, challenging, and dangerous time because what we are witnessing in Los Angeles is not normal. Our communities are under attack. Our children in schools are being targeted. Our parents are scared to go to graduation ceremonies. Patients are missing their medical appointments. We have parishioners praying in church that are being apprehended. Workers and small business owners disappearing without a trace, their loved ones without any information of where they are. This is not normal. Our neighborhoods, our communities are living in fear. People are missing work. They are not going out to go about on their day-to-day lives. This is not an isolated incident, and these are not isolated incidents. These are part of a systemic crisis that we are seeing. Just yesterday, Alex Padilla was our U.S. Senator, our first Latino to represent the state of California in the U.S. Senate, was violently removed, forced to the ground, and handcuffed by federal agents in a federal building. It is not acceptable. It is not just unacceptable. This is authoritarianism taking over our democracy. And again, I have to emphasize, these are not isolated incidents. These are part of a coordinated assault on immigrant communities. And they are shredding the remaining, what's left, of the trust our communities have in government. It is not okay that our families are living in fear in Los Angeles. It is not okay that our rights are being trampled. And the message that is being sent loud and clear is that if you are an immigrant, if you look like an immigrant, you are disposable. That means that what we need to do is we have to deepen our cross-sector collaboration, uniting business leaders, educators, legal experts, health providers, civic and faith leaders. It means broadening our multi-ethnic and our multi-racial coalitions because this fight cannot be done by one alone. It must be rooted in the solidarity across the communities that are under threat. When they come for one of us, they come from all of us. Necesitamos ahora que tengamos todas las manos y corazones listos para actuar. It is critically important that all hands and hearts are on deck to face and respond to this crisis. At Alliance for a Better Community, we work to build stronger and healthy communities where people can succeed and contribute to life with dignity. More than 4 million Latinos live in LA County. This population is the heart of our communities, working families, students, small business owners, and voters, many of whom are immigrants and part of mixed status households. When our community is under attack, there are ripple effects that are felt beyond our neighborhoods. The well-being of Latino communities are directly tied to the health and strength of Los Angeles. And this is why our connection and our work and how we respond has to be connected to a broader movement, one that brings people together from all races, backgrounds, and sectors to defend the dignity and the rights of our communities. I am grateful for the partners that have come out at a moment's notice to share their support and to unite and talk continuously, day to day, putting a message out. While these terrorist acts are happening in our communities, we will continue to uplift our voice and we will continue to stand united. I'd like to first introduce a person who needs no introduction, a civil rights leader of our time who has been here through thick and thin with our communities, the former mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa.
Thank you, Vanessa. And thank you to the Alliance for Better Communities. Some of the people here I've known for decades. Some of them have worked for me. Some of them I've struggled alongside of. I'm born and raised in this town. Many of you know that. I am a proud American. But what I've seen on the streets of Los Angeles is un-American. I have never seen military-style deportations, people coming in, military fatigues, masked up from head to their shoulders. We have never seen that, folks. In unmarked cars, They are terrorizing our communities. They are stopping people who are citizens. They are going into schools and churches and courthouses and places of work and places of shopping. They're doing so in an indiscriminate way and in a way that violates the civil rights of Angelenos. I have said from the beginning, many of us have said, we have a right to secure our borders. They said they were going to put these people at the border. They said they were going to go after serious felons, violent felons. Go after them. They're going after working people. They're separating children from their parents, and it's unacceptable. And we've got to say no. No to those type of military-style deportations, roundups, where they come in with flash-bang grenades. When have you seen that? Assault weapons. When have you seen that? This is the United States of America. 2, yesterday, I've known Senator Alex Padilla for 30 years. I've always called him the gentle giant. He's a large man, 6'3" or 4", a good man. I've never seen him violent in my life. Those of you who were there, and there were many, not a one of you accused of him of being aggressive. In fact, what you said is he asked a question. This is a United States senator in a federal building asking a simple question. He was accosted by the Secret Service. He was thrown down on his knees and forced to lay down, and then he was handcuffed. A United States senator. I say, not in my America, not in this America, not in America that understands that the First Amendment, freedom of expression, it's fundamental to our democracy. You're here, newspaper reporters and camera folks. You get to ask questions. Someone said, well, he didn't raise his hand. Well, how many of you have not raised your hand when you asked a question? He asked the question, they threw him to the ground, and it's unacceptable, and they need to be responsible for that. And finally, demonstrations. We should demonstrate, and we will tomorrow. There'll be demonstrations here in Los Angeles, all over Southern California, and across the nation. But let me be clear. Those demonstrations need to be peaceful. We need to observe the law. We cannot threaten law enforcement. We cannot damage buildings. We have to march peacefully in the tradition of Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez, Rosa Parks, and Dolores Huerta. Nonviolent demonstrations are the key to victory, and we will engage in nonviolent, peaceful demonstrations, standing up for the First Amendment, standing up for the freedom of assembly, standing up for our right to criticize a government that seems to not believe in our democracy and are threatening our rights. Para los que hablan español, quiero decir, he estado con esta gente muchos años, con algunos más de 3 décadas. Y lo que sí te puedo decir, después de tantos años en la política, tantos años como activista, nunca en mi vida, en una ciudad donde he visto redadas este año, esta década, nunca hemos visto redadas de estilo militar, donde vienen con flashbang grenades, donde están vestidos como militares, cubierto de la cabeza a los hombros, vienen con las armas de asalto y muy agresivo. Han detenido.
All right, I'm going to pause it here, and I'm going to head over to the next to see more updates on what's going on between Israel and Iran, and then I'll come back over here, right, and see what the next speaker is saying. All right, so for those of you that speak Spanish, I don't, but for those of you that speak Spanish, I'll put the link in the description, and then you guys can actually go and watch the full, right, Spanish part of what he's saying. So with that being said, I'm going to jump over to the next and see what's going on, more details on the Iran and Iraq, right? So let me do that.
Iranian envoy Witkoff just a week ago about the scale and damage that an Iranian attack could pose to military and civilian targets inside Israel. So I think, as I said, the scale and proportion of the Iranian response is something that needs to be factored in terms of how long and how difficult this war, this confrontation could be over the coming days and weeks.
Anise, I'm going to bring in my colleague who is at the UN just ahead of that emergency session of the UN Security Council. But I want you to stay with us as we continue to monitor the smoke rising from Tel Aviv following that assault by Iran. Bahman, the UN Security Council, this emergency session is really going to have to tackle this, given the retribution that Iran has promised, given what we're witnessing on the ground in Israel.
And it's unlikely that it could possibly convince either side to walk away from escalation at this point. I mean, the members will speak. They will call for de-escalations. Obviously, the Iranian representative will talk about how Israel has violated international law by attacking a sovereign country. Israel will have its defense that we've heard from its ambassador the last couple of hours. There was a press conference here saying they had to move because they had intelligence that Iran was taking steps that brought it would have brought it even closer to a nuclear bomb, even though the U.S. intelligence assessment, entire intelligence assessment of the U.S. government had just very recently said Iran is where it was before, which is it hasn't even made a decision to build a bomb. So those narratives will be expressed. Calls for de-escalations will be heard. We might hear from director of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi, to talk about the nuclear site in Natanz that was hit, whether there is any danger there for the population. They have inspectors on the ground, so we will hear from him as well.
And let me say this, guys. Listen, this was inevitable. It's been months since Netanyahu has been trying to get the United States involved in a war with Iran. So it was inevitable. There was no question to it, right? So just understand that. Let's continue.
Well, Secretary General or his representative will speak.
All right, we've been listening in on BBC News coverage, breaking news coming out of the Middle East. You can see some live photos there of Tel Aviv, where you see a big smoke plume wafting off in the distance behind the cityscape, reportedly from Iranian missiles. So I want to bring in CBS News Middle East reporter Courtney Keeley. She is back here in Studio 57. Courtney, get us up to speed. What's going on, and also what are the people in Israel going through right now?
Well, where they're going is to shelters. They've been ordered to go into shelters. Their air sirens are ringing across the country right now. We're hearing from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces are confirming that Iran has shot ballistic missiles into Israel. Now, the question is there defensive systems? Is there Patriot a battery pack missile defense system and others in place? Yes, they would be. Will they be shooting out of the sky? Yes, they will be. Will they be doing it with the help of other countries nearby covertly? Yes, we've seen that in play in the past under the Biden administration. So Israel knows what to do, especially in a situation like this, to seek shelter and seek it quickly. It's Shabbat. It's Friday night there, and it's dark. So people will be hustling into their shelters, sheltering in place. But these ballistic missiles, as we talk, are firing and launched and being shot down. The question is, will some get through? That is the biggest worry.
Yeah, and you mentioned Shabbat, obviously a significant day for people of Jewish faith. Is that any coincidence? And we may have to dip into our special report with CBS News. So quickly, is that any coincidence in your expertise?
No, it happens. It does happen, and often on holidays and Shabbat there have been.
And for those of you that don't know what Shabbat is, it's basically for the Sabbath. So for those of you that don't understand how the Jewish faith happens, it's kind of like Seventh-day Adventists at sundown, 5, 6 o'clock. Everybody goes in, no work for the weekend, from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. Nothing is done. No one touches any electronics, anything like that. I can actually read the actual definition of Shabbat. So Shabbat is the Jewish day of rest. Shabbat happens each week from sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. During Shabbat, the Jewish people remember the story of creation from the Torah, where God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. So it's very much for those of you that understand how Seventh-day Adventists, it's kind of like it's the same thing, right? The Sabbath, right? So let's continue.
There have been wars like Yom Kippur. So this isn't any significance. It just destroys any peace that the Israelis thought they might have had this evening. And I would expect that they know what it's like to be in the defensive position and have been before, so that civilians wouldn't be surprised that they're rushing into shelters. They probably were ready to do this. It's a country on high alert. 100 ballistic missiles, according to the Israeli Defense Forces, have already been fired.
And talk to me a little bit about those defense forces protections for the people in Israel. They are able to shoot down the vast majority of missiles that are lobbed their way, but that isn't a perfect system, right?
No, and the amount of ballistic missiles that Iran has is the biggest question. How much are they going to be able to launch while they're being attacked right now by Israel? They're under bombardment throughout Iran right now, including the private residence of Khamenei. That's unconfirmed, but that's what I'm hearing through Iranian sources. So we're hearing that in Isfahan, that people are in the streets shouting death to Khamenei. This is ongoing. This is a kinetic, high alert for everybody. The Israelis have been going through everything in terms of their own government, whether they're with them, the hostage crisis, the war in Gaza, the northern front with Hezbollah that decimated both sides. So this is a country at war since October 7th, but this is yet another moment of terror and trauma for Israelis and also for Iranians.
Speaking of Iranians, how significant were these strikes in Iran earlier, were densely populated areas, right? And this is a society where there is a lot of technological development. This is very much a developed country where people were certainly put into harm's way in those attacks as well, right?
Sophisticated and educated is the Iranian population, and also good on social media, good getting those images out. But we did hear from Khamenei's social media himself confirming the martyrdom quote, as he put it, of 3 top leaderships, of Iranian scientists. Iranian nuclear facilities have been hit. Some of those depots have been hit. The second in command to Khamenei was hit, but already replaced. Al-Manar, Hezbollah TV in Lebanon, is saying that it's the U.S. that's going to experience shame and sorrow from being allied with Israel. So we also have to talk about the U.S. is considered to be part and parcel of these Israeli strikes, whether President Trump was okay with it or not. It's now after the fact. It's ongoing. The Israeli military is saying it could continue for up to 14 days or more. So this is a beginning. This is sort of the just vast bombardment. And it took from last night until this afternoon for Iran to respond. They might have been scrambling for that. But they will be continuing to scramble because I think their oil refinery, again, unconfirmed, but black smoke billowing out of that largest oil refinery. And these are people that have been living under a repressive regime for decades. These are people that want that regime gone, but they don't want war either.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been to Iran as a journalist, spoken to the people there. You're certainly echoing what the sentiment has long been for some time. You know, I just want to take a step back from the current situation that we're seeing play out right there. And you can actually see there's, I believe, more smoke rising from those images of Tel Aviv, but that actually is from moments ago. So that is probably what we were viewing on the BBC. But this all is happening to the backdrop of nuclear negotiations. Iran believed to be just days, maybe weeks away from that critical moment where they could enrich uranium to ultimately make a nuclear warhead. Where do those talks stand? How does this flare-up impact that? Well,
Khamenei was, I was told by experts that he would rather go to war than agree to no uranium enrichment. There had been a way to potentially square that circle, put in a framework where Iran promised to not enrich uranium up to the level of the ability to create nuclear warheads, that they would have, you know, you can downgrade it, you can dilute the uranium and bring it back off that nuclear level into something less. And they could have done it on site. They could do many things. Somebody who was an expert in the room with the foreign minister who's been in all these talks, he told me that the foreign minister previous talks said, why would we want to take away the enrichment of uranium? Our scientists work so hard. So, you know, this sort of, it's all very cloak and dagger. President Trump really wanted a deal, but today he's reacting, you know, and kind of knowing that he had no choice. Whether he had a choice, whether he was okay with it or not, he did want those Oman talks to go on. He's still talking about talks continuing, but I really don't see any way through that the Iranians would save face or agree to any negotiations right now when they're basically in a war situation.
Courtney Keeley helping us cover this breaking news. Good to see you back on set. Thank you for your insight, your expertise. We always appreciate it.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm John Dickerson. Breaking news from the Middle East. Iran has launched missiles towards Israel. Iranian state television says, quote, hundreds of ballistic missiles have been deployed. We've seen explosions all over Tel Aviv, and air raid sirens are going off across Israel. And the Israeli Defense Forces say all of Israel is under fire as Iran fires projectiles. This is in retaliation from last night's attack, really waves of attacks that have targeted nuclear sites and Iran's military leadership. In a televised address, Iran's supreme leader vowed revenge. Let's turn to Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan. Margaret, good to be with you again. Update us really on where we are right now and what your sources are telling you.
Well, John, we are all watching the state TV broadcast out of Iran as the supreme leader, the 85-year-old man who leads the Iranian regime, vowed retaliation, and it appears that's part of what we're seeing, those plumes of smoke you're seeing over the city of Tel Aviv right now. It's not clear how many of the incoming projectiles, the missiles, may have been intercepted by that U.S.-provided Iron Dome system, or how many may have made impact. It is usually a very strong system that U.S. taxpayers have helped to provide the state of Israel. What we know is that the IDF also announced that it had just carried out yet another round of attacks in Tehran and in other parts of Iran. The fighter jets, according to the IDF, struck another nuclear site in the Isfahan area of Iran. They claim that this was a precision strike in an area where there was enriched uranium and that there was a nuclear weapons production process. Now, that is a difference between Israel's intelligence and what the United States says. The United States intelligence community says that Iran does not have a nuclear weapons program, but that it does have a nuclear enrichment program. That is a difference here in what the U.S. and Israel are thinking, and we are continuing to try to report out how aligned the two allies actually are in the military operation that took place overnight, what Israel called a preemptive strike on multiple locations in Iran. have heard, John, through my reporting today, calling many regional officials, that Secretary of State Rubio was working the phones hours in advance of the Israeli initial strike, warning allies that something was coming, but this is not us. That was the message he relayed. This is not us. The U.S. distancing itself a bit here. We are trying to really pin that down, because President Trump this morning is touting the fact that Israel is using not just defense systems like the one that may be intercepting those missiles, but also American provided and paid for weapons to carry out the strikes in Tehran. But this is very much an ongoing military operation.
As we watch the military operation continue, Margaret, I want to explore some of those gaps you were just describing. The first is could it be just a semantic gap in terms of the Iranians are saying, pardon me, the Israelis are saying that the Iranian program is further along than U.S. intelligence. Could it be just a language issue in terms of just how the two countries, the United States and Israel, define those two things, or could it be an actual dispute over intel, over what exactly Iran has?
It may be that. It may be on the substance, different intelligence assessments, and we're trying to pin some of that down. In his address last night, the Prime Minister of Israel said something very different from one of his military officers. A military officer went and briefed the press and said Iran had enough nuclear fuel for 15 weapons. The Prime Minister said they had enough nuclear fuel for 9, and that they could do it in months or in as little as a year, and then others briefed in moments Iran would have a nuclear weapon. So we're trying to even just get clarity on exactly what Israel's own assessment is, and then how much it may differ from the U.S. intelligence assessment. And anyone can go, by the way, find that online. It's published. It's publicly readable, what the findings of the U.S. intelligence community was, because as of this March, they said Iran's nuclear program ended in 2003. It's the nuclear fuel they've been concerned about.
The nature of the Iranian threat, of course, being important to understand whether this action is commensurate with the level of the threat. Let me also explore what you were discussing, Margaret, in terms of U.S. involvement. You said the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is on the phone saying this is not us. But as you pointed out, President Trump seemed to be suggesting something else, that he was involved in this operation, at least in one form or another, or knew that it was going on for a good long while. So I kind of want to know, which is it? Maybe the U.S. wasn't pushing any buttons, but, give me your assessment of how much takes place without the U.S. being involved, or how an operation of this size and significance could happen without the U.S. being involved in some fashion.
Well, in some ways, John, the short answer is Israel always assumes that America has its back, period. That has been the risk that some American presidents have said exists if Israel was to go through with a strike that could have unintended consequences, because American forces, they assume, will back them up. That's that sort of concern about something spiraling here. But Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has been arguing this time it is different. The chessboard has changed. Iran is historically weak, that they can carry out this really extensive intelligence and military operation and make a difference here. We know through our own reporting that President Trump in months past had really pressed back on that, saying, give me time with the diplomacy. Don't go and do this. I'm trying to negotiate here. So he was really leaning into the diplomacy and pushing back on the prime minister's desire to go ahead with this military operation. Exactly what changed is something we're still trying to pin down here. Did he greenlight it and say go, or did he simply just not really get in the way?
Thank you so much, Margaret. We're watching live video here from Tel Aviv.
Control last night, very briefly, Donald Trump's ability to seize control of California's National Guard and use them to suppress protesters that he disagrees with was halted by U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer. He said in his decision announcing that his actions, Trump's, were illegal, both exceeding the scope of his statutory authority and violating the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution. And that was good. Even a brief halt to Trump's intentional, constant provocation of violence in LA is great. And he did violate the law. He did violate the Constitution. So that was great. But unfortunately, it didn't last. He appealed it. and the appeal is now allowing him to once again take control of the California National Guard. It might work its way up. Maybe at some point it'll be stripped away again, but as of right now, he can once again use it, and he will there and likely in other cities because these protests continue to spread. And this weekend, there's going to be a whole hell of a lot of it. And so, as for right now, he can do what he's going to do. He can trample your rights. He can trample your body, as we're seeing in footage that unfortunately was taken by local news, so we can't show it. So, 4,000 members of the California National Guard. Still being used, 700 U.S. Marines. Brett, you are aghast at that. What's
we
that?
have the footage. Let me know next time we shot
particular clip. I'm thinking of particular clips that I saw that were ABC 7, so we couldn't use. But yes, and actually, I'd love for you in your response to plug. Zephyr and Jesus have been doing great on the ground coverage, interviewing people, showing what's actually going on, and so they've been doing great work for days now. So Brett, what do you think?
Well, so here's what happens is I've talked to people recently, folks that are like, these are paid actors down there doing these protests. I didn't think that folks who believed that actually existed.
Israel attacked Iran and started a war. Later, they will pretend to be poor little victims who had to do self-defense. Then Israel will say, America has to pay for my self-defense after attacking Iran first. There's no question about that. I want everybody to remember this moment in time, this video or whichever, article you read about or video you watched about it. Israel attacked Iran, not the other way around, because later most of American media and most of the American politicians will pretend that Israel is the victim and they were doing self-defense after they started a war. And later, of course, they will demand money from America for their self-defense because they are victims and special allies that don't have to follow international law, that could just start any war they like. They can take any territory they like. They can kill anyone they like. They're above the law. Okay, so now tonight, we're at 6 o'clock Eastern. We're going to break down all of the details for you guys and all the Trump reaction, which I'm going to explain in a second, give you the quotes, MAGA reaction, which is very interesting. I'll get to that in a minute, but we'll give you all the details as we always do when we go live for the main show at 6 o'clock Eastern right here on Young Turks on YouTube. So make sure you're checking that out. The main show is 6 to 8 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. Okay, so Israel attacks. They kill a number of the top generals. The guy who replaced Qasem Soleimani, who we killed earlier, the head of the Quds Force. That story just broke. Now, of course, if Iran had killed the same level of government officials in Israel, we would say that Iran were dirty, terrible, violent, savage terrorists. But when Israel does it, it was just a preemptive strike for self-defense after we start a war. I guess they'll attack us and then we'll pretend that it was about self-defense. Anyway, they all play these stupid games. So it's super obvious what's actually happening. Now, there is one thing that's not obvious, though. So Israel is the most aggressive military. The obvious part is Israel's the most aggressive military in the world. They continually attack their neighbors. It has nothing to do with self-defense. It's about taking more territory, as they have now officially announced that they are going to take Gaza. It was never about self-defense. It was always an aggressive war. And the guys who knew exactly where the 3 top military officials in Iran were and found a way to kill them inside that country. Well, golly gee, in Gaza, we just couldn't find Hamas. And we just had to slaughter the civilians because, our military and our intelligence suck. We're just so incompetent that we had to just carpet bomb and drop 2,000-pound bombs and kill 17,000 children. Oh, golly gee, our military is incompetent. Oh, look, boom, 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 pinpoint precision inside Iran. Of course, the Patriot attack inside Lebanon. Oh, look at that. The attack inside Syria. How many neighbors are they going to attack before you realize they're the aggressor? Now, almost all of you realize that. Mainstream media, though, is still going out there like a bunch of idiots and pretending that Israel's the victim and that the big bad Muslims, the Muslims are terrorists, the Muslims want violence. No, Israel does. So wake up, okay? So AIPAC, of course, funneling hundreds of millions of dollars to our politicians. So our politicians funnel hundreds of billions of dollars to Israel. You guys know how that game is played and corruption is. So now what's interesting is on Trump, last night, Marco Rubio, the State Department head, obviously goes out and says, we didn't do it. We got nothing to do with it, man. Don't attack our bases. We didn't have anything to do with this. I was like, oh, interesting. And Wall Street Journal reports that Donald Trump told Israel not to attack Iran, and they did it anyway, right? But then this morning, Trump comes out and goes, just kidding. I meant it. Yeah, I knew all along, and I was okay with it. And that shows Iran, you better get to the negotiating table. My guess, again, we'll get more into the details of 6. But my guess is that Trump told Netanyahu not to attack. Netanyahu was like, who the hell do you think you are? I don't work for you. You work for me. I do whatever I want, and then you pay for it, okay? And then Trump was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm so sorry. So like his bitch, Trump then comes out because he doesn't want to seem weak, because then everybody will know that Netanyahu's the boss and not Trump. So Trump comes out this morning. He's like, no, I knew. I'm good with it. Yeah, that's it. We'll show you how tough we are, right? So, okay, how's MAGA going to react? Now they just started a huge war. I don't know. Look, I don't know what Iran's capabilities are. So maybe Iran's capabilities suck, and Israel's just going to slaughter them, right? And then they're going to laugh and go, ha, we were doing self-defense again. These American media reporters, man, they'll say anything we tell them. Bunch of idiots. We can just give them any talking about them. Oh, yes, sir, of course, sir. You were doing self-defense as you attacked a country that is completely different than yours and pretty far away from you, and you went all the way over there to kill them and attack them, but it self. All right, anyway, you guys get it. So now, what's MAGA's reaction to Trump being Israel's bitch? And by the way, look, fair is shown America when Trump chose not to attack Iran earlier, when Netanyahu told him to, I gave Trump credit. And then some on the left freaked out, and they were like, oh my God, don't give Trump credit. Well, I want to encourage him to do the right thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson saying, don't attack Iran, don't attack Iran. Oh, don't work with those guys, they don't mean it. And as soon as Trump helps Israel, they'll all fall in line, and Tucker and all those guys will be lapdogs for Trump, and they'll say that they're pro-war. Well, how'd that work out? I'm going to tell you in a second. First, Borber Country, thank you for the super chat. You know what? I'm going to read this real quick. I've lived in the States for like 25 years. One thing I noticed that Israel gets priority over even Americans. Why is USA so beholden to a foreign nation? Oh, the bribes they take from AIPAC, period. By the way, again, not just about AIPAC, guys. All of our Congress people also take bribes from big pharma and oil and banks, et cetera, and defense contractors. So it's like
from here till eternity, mainstream media is going to lie to you about how, oh my God, poor Israel. What could they do? Now, this next slide. They were about to get a nuclear bomb. You heard it in the first clip we played for you guys. No, they weren't. They were at best a couple of weeks away, which sounds really close, to enriching uranium for the first time at a level where it could be weaponized. But if you wanted to actually put it on a bomb, that actually would have taken at least another year. How often have you heard that on TV? That they were nowhere near being able to weaponize a bomb, that they're not even close to it, not within a year. On TV, it looks like, oh my God, Iran was about to get a nuke and kill us all. Oh, thank God, preventative war and preemptive war from Israel. So, oh, what a great thing. Oh, don't worry about the Iranian civilians. Iran struck back those goddamn terrorists. Okay, so usual stuff. Part of it is, okay, Israel's the greatest, and we have to give all of your money to Israel, and you have to fight their wars for them. But most of it is, make sure America gets sucked into this war. One last thing about the framing. Their physicists were killed, and their lead negotiator was killed, and their top military leaders and politicians were killed. Now, if Iran had struck first, and they'd killed Israeli civilian scientists and the top Israeli negotiator for peace, and an Israeli politician, and their top 3 military commanders, what would we call it? Everyone in the press would say, murdered, terrorists. No, Israeli civilians were murdered by the terrorists. Israel does it. Oh, they were just killed. We're just going after, they were about to get the bomb. What could poor Israel do? So no, Israel's a massive aggressor. They do not let the American media lie to you and pretend starting tomorrow because, oh, now Iran counterattacked. So they'll show you tons of pictures on air about Israel, Tel Aviv. Oh. So look, am I worried about civilians in Israel or Iran? Yes, I don't want any civilians dying in Israel. But don't tell me that you're the victims. Don't tell me that you're doing self-defense and drag America into it. And right now we're massively dragged into it. So how? Number one, we're now doing defense for Israel, defense. So that means we pay a ton of money to bring our aircraft carriers, to bring our ships, and now we're knocking down the Iranian missiles. So we're already on day one, right in the middle of the war. And we find out today, oh, oops, it turns out that we gave them intelligence on the bombing carrier. So wait a minute, so we're involved on the offense and the defense. We're right in the middle of this war. On day one, it was so easy to get America in the middle of this war with Iran. And Israel can't wait for an American service member to be killed. They're gonna set fireworks, not into Israeli civilians and citizens, and the scumbags who run, the terrorists who run their government. Because the minute an American is killed, and by the way, get a load of this. Israel's super protected because we gave them Iron Dome. So, and we've got our aircraft carriers, we're shooting down everything. But American troops in the Middle East don't have Iron Dome. They're sitting ducks. So the minute Iran hits a soft target, which is us, then Netanyahu's gonna go, ha ha ha, checkmate America. Now you're my bitch again. Now you fight my wars. And they'll probably even withdraw and say, America, you do our dirty work for us. Spend a couple of trillion like you did in Iraq, and tens of thousands of Americans get killed or wounded. Who cares? Israel needs you to do something for us. Hurry up and do it, okay? And American media will be like, oh, they are the victims. They are the victims. They're doing self-defense now. We have to help them with their defense. What do you mean defense? What is defense? No, it's nothing but offense. What? So no, get the hell out of there. And I got to get to Maz, so I'll tell you in a minute how they tricked Trump into this. He's such a child. Maz.
Well, you're right on all.
Clarity and perspective. Like when you listen to people that understand and been following what's been going on, you get a different perspective. So what the mainstream media is saying, and then what channels like TYT is saying, you get a different perspective, and you tend to get the truth because they're not funded by special interest groups, right? So let's continue.
All fronts, and Netanyahu's been wanting to do this for years and years. If you recall, before the actual first nuclear deal, he was at the UN with that Wile E. Coyote bomb and saying Iran is just a couple weeks away. We have to bomb Iran. We have to bomb Iran. And to your point, it seems like he played Donald Trump like an orange-haired fiddle to get him to do this, because he supposedly had convinced Trump that if he does this now, it will help bring Iran to the negotiating table. Which, by the way, Donald Trump, you saw, he said, oh, I told them make a deal in 60 days. This is day 61. They should have made a deal. You better make a deal now. You already had a deal. And this new deal isn't that different from the previous deal. And if we stuck with the previous deal, perhaps we'd have more knowledge about what's going on inside Iran and inside their program. Now, as an Iranian American in the diaspora, I could tell you that a lot of Iranians don't like the government. The government's an oppressive government, and it's maybe not even a trustworthy government, but nobody wants to go to war and kill innocent people. So when I see the images, and I reached out to some relatives and just asking if they're okay. One friend of mine said that he had been at the airport and there was a lot of chaos, but he was fine. But we don't know the numbers, to your point. We don't know the numbers. And as an Iranian American, again, it has been exhausting. It's exhausting to be Iranian in this world, because the people of Iran are really good people. And the government of Iran is oppressive. But then you get caught up in the middle of this where Bibi's playing Trump and Trump is going along, and we're about to start World War III in that region. And so, what can we do? I don't know. And I think a big part of this was also Bibi had been seeing that the continuing killing of Gazans was definitely in the world, was getting more people were knowing about it. And And it was another distraction to go, let me go after these guys. And to your point, they've got the backing of America. And I don't know, the thing that I always am perplexed by is these world leaders, when they do these types of things, it seems like they never think about what's the day after. Because if you were to go and bomb Iran and bomb Iran and bomb Iran, what's the day after? What's going to happen? Are you going to find a way to cause a regime change and create a democratic Iran by bombing them? Is that what your strategy is? What is your strategy? So I don't see any strategy there except chaos. And it's very worrisome for all the civilians that are going to be harmed in such a war.
And that's what I was saying, guys. That's what I was saying. I'm like, based on what's going on, we could be on the brink of World War III, right? And it may be started in the Middle East because of the actors, the people over there that are doing what they're doing, you know. And if America get goated into a war, we might be seeing a different climate over the next several months. Because think about it. The war is going on with Israel and Gaza. The war is now going on with Israel and Iran. There's a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. There's what's going on in the United States and the protests and the riots because of the people are getting arrested and deported, and there's war everywhere. The world is in a state of unrest, right? And when things like that happens, people emotions get heightened, and we don't know what direction things may go. And it just one mistake happened to where somebody on one side of the world, could be Russia, could be Ukraine, what's going on with Iran, what's going on, and then boom, one minor infraction or mistake could turn out into a super mistake that turns out into a war, World War III. It's like I'm feeling uneasy because it's like everywhere there's something going on. Everywhere there's something going on. War in the East and war in the West, right? Man, guys, you know, it is just crazy. Just crazy, you know. And the words of Bob Marley, you know, war in the East and war in the West. You know, war in the East and war in the West. Until, you know, and we know the fella. And now I don't want to get a copyright strike, you know, so that's why I'm just playing and moving this. But let me tell you guys. One race. let me just back this up a second. Superior and another inferior. Exactly. It's kind of like that's what's happening. You know, one is inferior and one is superior, and those complexes causes tension when people egos are in the mix. Oh my gosh, the uneasiness, the feeling, it is just crazy. Ooh. War in the East and war in the West. Guys, it's crazy. I'm super uneasy of what's happening in the world. You know, I'm not a Christian, but I often hear Christian people say, we're in the end times. And I've been hearing that since I was a kid, we're in the end times. But are we in the end times? Are we in the end times? Something is happening. Something is happening. It's just scary. It's scary. Wow. Wow. All right, guys. I can tell you this. Be safe out there. Love your family. Love your friends. Try your best to respect each other. And keep the violence at bay. There is enough violence already going on in the world. We don't need more of it. If we can communicate with less or no tension, I really think that would be the best for us to do, right? Reciprocate communication. Make communication easy by one person listening and one person speaking, comprehending and understanding. Don't just listen to react. Listen to comprehend and understand and have a meaningful conversation. Because egos always end up becoming aggressive when someone don't know how to keep their ego and their pride at bay. And here we are with this war, these wars that are happening. Folks want land. Folks want land. So we're talking about Israel wanting Gaza, Russia wanting Ukraine. Oh my gosh. There's just so much going on. So let's do the best that we can do and keep it peaceful. Right? And keep it peaceful. You know, let me see if I can pull up that part where Bob Marley said, war in the East and war in the West.
Discredited and
you know, let me find that. Let me see if I can find
that until
yeah.
This a war.
Hear that? War. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. And like I always say in everything, question everything, because if you don't, you may fall for anything. Think and say, have a good day.